In life, there are many mysteries that have yet to be solved. For example, the moon landing. Was it fake? Was it not? Who really knows? Or with the government using pigeons as cameras to secretly spy on us and steal all our information. I mean, who knows? But today, I'm going to share to you not A to Z mysteries, but 1 to 3 mysteries of my life. All right, so our first story today is the stolen iPad Mini 2. All right, so when I was younger, maybe around, I'm guessing maybe around like 10, 11, 12, around that kind of general time frame, I had an iPad Mini 2, and I loved this thing. I played like Lego The Yoda Chronicles, I played Jetpack Joyride, Minecraft Pocket Edition, back when it was Pocket Edition and not Bedrock. But moving on from that little thing, which I'll be a video in itself and why Minecraft Bedrock sucks in some ways. But moving on from that, one occasion, our kind of like extended family invited us to their house to gonna hang out. And again, they're extended family, and me and my brothers were like, we don't want to go, right? And all that jazz. But my mom's like, okay, we're gonna still go, family, right? But she's like, to make it a bit easier for you, she kind of, giving us an easy way out. She would let us bring our iPads to our family's house. Ooh, it's too good, right? So we can play all our games in the car, play them there, avoid socialization. Is that a word? I think it is. Moving on. So, yeah, I put my tablet all the way in the car there, and as I arrived there, I saw, the family played, we ate dinner, and, we played some foosball. I think there was some volleyball and all that jazz, but I didn't play that, right? But overall, I ended up kind of enjoying myself. Right? I didn't take my tablet the entire time, though I did do for a little bit. I tried getting the internet and all that jazz, but ended up not working, sadly. But at one point, I was sitting down with my cousin that was probably around maybe like a couple years younger than me at that time, and he was playing my tablet. He's like, whoa, these are such like cool games, Like, I don't know exactly what we played at the time. I'm assuming it's the classic mobile games, the ones I mentioned earlier. And he was playing them, and he was really enjoying himself. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of cool. I can kind of get I don't know why, but I wanted a break. I was tired of this guy, of like him following me around and all that jazz. So I'm like, thank goodness he can, play on my tablet and I don't have to do anything, right? But little did I know that might be my downfall, and I'll get back to that later, right? So at the end of the day, it's like 10, 11 o'clock, right? And I put my iPad next to the front door, and then I say goodbye to all the family members, right? Then I head back to take my iPad from the front door, more bottle, or at least I think, and I take it all to the car, right? I put it all down, and then my mom is like not coming out yet, so I'm like, I'm gonna go back inside, right? And then tell her kind of gently nudge for us to leave because I want to go home, right? I don't want to be with family. Come on, God forbid, But anywho, so again, I go back inside the house. I tell them to come back. We finally leave, and and then I don't know how long through the trip, because this was a while back, but sometime during the trip, I realized, oh, I don't have my tablet. Where's my tablet, right? And we were already far enough. And my mom's like, oh, it's probably in the car somewhere, right? You took it in, right? I'm like, yeah, I took it in. I took the iPad into the car, right? I remember distinctly walking out of the house with my tablet in hand, right? So then, we get home. My mom's like, hey, just wait till we get home, right? We get home, we look in the car, can't find it anywhere. Mom's like, okay, I'll text our family member, right, to see if she can find it anywhere in the house. She does not, sadly, find it, right? And I'm very sad. I'm like, where's my tablet? I mean, I have an older one because at the time I upgraded from a iPad, Apple iPad to an iPad Mini 2. Maybe it was an iPad 3 then iPad Mini 2. I can't recall. But moving on, I'm like, well, where's my tablet? I want my tablet, right? And so my mom, again, nothing, right? I'm like, what could have, why? How could I have lost my tablet? Did I drop it? Maybe as I went outside, I dropped it. But I think I would have noticed that because I might have been carrying a lot. I think I carried a water bottle and something else. I might have carried too much, and maybe I dropped my tablet, right? I just didn't know it, right? I'm like, well, if I dropped my tablet, I bet somebody was walking down and like, oh, yo, free iPad Mini 2? That's incredible. On the floor right there in the front of this yard. Free if it's free, it's for me and all that jazz, right? But then I thought to myself, what if that wasn't the case? I played with my little cousin on my iPad Mini 2, and he seemed to enjoy it a lot, maybe too much. What if is my theory, what if he stole it? Yeah, that's right. What if he stole my iPad Mini 2? But then again, I have no evidence, no proof. I think I remember pressuring him in the future, but I can't recall for now. But that is the first mystery. What happened to my tablet that night? Who knows? Did I drop it? Did my cousin steal it? Did I? I don't know. I don't even know. That's my first greatest mystery of my life. Moving on to the second biggest mystery of my life. We're gonna go to. This is more of like a recent one. I get like recent one in terms of I just got brought back up. So I like going on walks, and I will do what I call audio logs, meaning I'll hold my phone up to my mouth, and I'll like talk about life and all that jazz. Either reflect or say like, "Oh, this happened. This was so fun," right? But in two separate occasions, I think like a year ago, as I was walking one time, there was a person that like honked multiple times at me, and I looked around, right? He rolled the window and he like yelled out something. I have it written down in my journal somewhere, but couldn't find him. So yeah, I'm like, that's kind of weird, right? I mean, but whatever, it's just like somebody being goofy, or maybe they weren't even honking at me, right? But then it happened again, like 2 months later, like a month or two later, it happened again. This person's honking, and I think they even like said like, I think they even pulled by and like asked me a question or something like that, and they're like, hey there, and they just kind of drive by, and I'm like, huh? I'm like, whatever, right? Like these kids are probably just being dumb, whatever. I'm that age where I do dumb things too, But I was kind of confused. My mom was like, "But Joe, if you see these people again, you might need to run or not go on walks for a bit, because again, if it happens 2 times with a car pulling by you and like yelling at you, it's probably not a good sign, right?" So I think I actually stopped. That actually made me scared of going on walks for a season, like maybe like a couple of weeks, right? So I didn't go on walks for a while, and just recently, now I don't know if these are all connected. I'm just theorizing. That's just a theory. Not food, not style, not game, not film. That's just a Joe theory. Thanks for watching. But anywho, so I'm like, okay, well, so basically, as I was walking home, this was like a couple days ago. As I was walking home, right, like 2 blocks away from my house, there's this car that pulls over and like drops a kid out, probably around my age, right? There was a kid out. He's trying to get through. He's shoveling through his keys, locking the door, right? And then they pull up, and we're in the same block, right? And they drive by me. They roll in the window, and they said, "Hey, have you been in the neighborhood for a while?" And I said, "Yup." And then they start, no joke, they started yelling, "Ah!" And looked at each other, "Ah!" It's like two teenage boys, probably like 19, 20, or maybe even like 7. Actually, probably 17. Who kind of 19-year-olds doing that? I'd say like 17, 18, like my age, right? Like, and then drove away. And I'm over here like, huh? And then I continue walking, and the guy still was fidgeting with his keys to go through the door. And this was again a guy my age, and I asked him like, "Are those your friends?" He's like, he paused, "Nope." Even though I saw them, get dropped off, and I'm like, they're pretty goofy. Have a good day. I said like, have a good day, sir. Continue walking down, go back home, right? My theory is that all those car instances are all connected together, and maybe it's the same guys just being really goofy. I don't know if they do this a lot to like other people, right? Like or they think I'm somebody else. I don't really know. Actually, oh my goodness! As I was saying the story, I think they did mistake me for somebody. No, I think they drove by a fourth time. That's crazy. Okay, this is like back in the memory. I'm not sure if this is true, but so take it with a grain of salt. But it's from an eyewitness, so I don't know. Moving on. So rewinding back, I told you there's 2 times. Well, I think there was a third time now that I think about it now, where they actually drove by and stopped, and they're like, "Hey, are you blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not blah blah blah." And they're like, "Oh, okay," and they drive away, right? And I'm like, no, I think I said I was a Christian at one point. I'm like, no, I think I said, did they even give my name? I don't know. My name is Joe. I think what was it? Yeah, whatever. Anywho, so moving on from that little thing, here is the third and final mystery. The third final mystery is a more interesting one and more to be a bit more vague about, I guess. So if I continue being vague a lot, you'll figure out why. But anywho, so I'm homeschooled, right? I've gone to I think around I've gone to 4 co-ops in my lifetime, right? And the first one, I won't say name, but the first one I went to was probably one of my favorites because it's the first co-op, right, and all that jazz, right? That was a part of this. I get to know a bunch of people. I was there for like the longest time, right? But that's how they ended in 2020. But sometime in 2022, I believe it was July 3rd or 4th, I can't recall, but in 2022, on that day I just mentioned, right? I was finishing up. I was in my mom's basement. I was playing Minecraft Pocket Edition with the controller, playing with my friend. Using my phone to like hear and then play, right? We got competition. I'm like, okay, well, thanks, fun playing with you. I'll catch you later. Bye. And then I leave, right? And as I'm putting my phone down, I'm just kind of just thinking to myself, right? I get a call. I'm like, oh, he must be calling me back. You know, he might be, but it's from a different number. I'm like, huh? I'm like, oh, whatever. I'll see who it is, right? And then it's a girl on the end of the side. I'm like, wait, what? I don't know. I don't have like, if it's not weird, but I don't have any girls in my contacts. So these are my mother, my family. I'm like, hello. I'm like, who is this? And the girl said, and she seemed to be younger. She was definitely not like a good adult for sure. And she's like, have you seen the new Doctor Strange movie, The Multiverse of Madness? And I'm like, no, I have not. She's like, man, that movie was so bad. Like that movie, instead of spending the movie money on that movie, they could have spent it on like, I don't. Oh, what did she say? They could have spent it on like helping people in Africa. And I'm over here like, huh? Like, yeah, you could give them, water and like food and all that jazz, which they need it, until they made the movie, right? And I'm like, I can't tell if she's being serious or if she's being like silly, you know. So I'm like, well, I have a. Did I say I have money? I don't think I said that. I have money. No, I said no. I have a 7-Eleven in my area, and I'll walk down there and buy some snacks, right? And I could have used that money to help people, to help kids in Africa, but I didn't. Do I think it's wrong? Not necessarily. It's having a place for that kind of thing and all that. Then I got me thinking for a bit. I'm like, maybe is that wrong? But moving on from that. Oh, that'll be a different video for a different day, right? Moving on from that, I'm like, then she's like, I'm like, well, okay, who is this girl that's talking to me, right? But like, out of nowhere, random topic. So then I asked her like, hey, like, where do I know you from? And she didn't give me again. She's like, oh, you know me from the old co-op we used to go to. I'm like, oh, do I? I'm like, oh, it's so cool. Because again, whenever I see someone from the old co-op, because generally speaking, I haven't seen the majority of those people from that old co-op since 2020, since it ended, right? So whenever I see them, I'm like, yo, it's so cool. It's you. I remember you when I was a baby. Well, not baby, but you know what I mean. Little kid. But moving on. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. You went to the old co-op. And I'm like, like you would go to a co-op now or any of that jazz? And she was like, well, I do go to a co-op, but I don't prefer it. It's not my favorite, I like the old one way better. I'm like, well, I'm going to a good co-op, right? And I know this person. And then the person just asked me like some general questions like, hey, what have you been up to? Or like, how's your new co-op? I'm like, my new co-op's great. And I'm like, who did you know from the old? And then I said like, what did I say? Oh yeah, I remember now. Then I said, oh, do you know this person from the old co-op? And they're like, oh yeah, I remember that person from the old co-op, right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool, right? And I'm like, who in the world's this person, right? I'm going to and why would they call me and how do they get my phone number? Because I don't give away my phone number to people. I'm not really on social media. I'm not like on, well, actually, I was going to say I'm not on Instagram, but I am on Instagram, even though I don't use it. But point is, I don't know how they would have gotten my phone number. Like, it's almost impossible, I feel, unless somebody gave it to them. Right? And I was really confused, right? And later ask how they're doing, what I've been up to, what they've been up to, about them, right? Whatever, right? And so, eventually I'm like, well, who are you, right? And they're like, I have to go, bye, dude. And I'm over here like, huh? Okay, so you're from my old co-op. You know this one person that went to that old co-op that I still kind of partially know, more like an acquaintance now, right? And yeah, so then I don't know what inspired me, but I went to go text my other old co-op friends that I just kind of reconnected with somewhat recently. And I'm like, hey, and these two guys were like kind of like best friends. They live really close to each other and they're kind of best friends, right? They also went to the old co-op, and I was good friends with them. But anywho, so again, they're there, or I ask him, I'm like, text him like, do you guys get a random call from a stranger that claimed they're from HSV that was a girl? And they're like, oh, you mean that person? And I'm like, wait, that person goes to my youth group too. Every once in a blue moon. I said they don't go too often. What's its face? Like that person? And he's like, yeah, that person. And I'm like, what'd you talk about? And he's like, she talked about like how Biden really sucks and like stuff like that. And I'm like, well, how did you get your phone number? And I called him after, and apparently the best friend was also like, the best friend did not get a call. Then I asked my best friend, right? So one of the two guys got a call, right? And my best friend, like, you get a call? He's like, no, I didn't get a call from nobody. Like, what? And I'm over here like, okay, so I got called, and then one of my friends got called. So that means they called two people. I'm really curious who else they called and how would they even find our phone numbers. I'm like, because it was my phone. It wasn't like a Discord or anything like that, or like, I'm like, yeah. So I never saw what I did. So as I said, that person goes to my youth group. So I did want to actually ask him if it was the same person, and ask him about that, but I never did. I just asked, I think when I saw him, I asked him just like, how are you doing, right? How's life and all that. And I was gonna ask him, I never did. And they don't go to my youth group anymore, I think at least. But if I ever see that person again, I'm gonna ask him. Or I might do a part two, like a continuation of that one, and share how. Cause I saw their phone number saved in my contacts. I called them once with my some of my other old co-op friends, different from the two guys that are best friends, right? Different from that, but and they didn't get calls either, by the way. So very interesting. I really want to figure out that story. That's probably the only one I'm really interested in terms of solving one day. And I guess I can solve it, but yeah, I don't know. But that concludes the three mysteries of my life: the stolen iPad, or maybe lost iPad, the random people that just drive by me and honk at me and say who I am and ask me dumb questions and drive away, and the mysterious call from a person from my old co-op. But the moral of the story is to, of course, trust God with the mysteries of your life. That was the moral of the story. Thanks for watching.